I'd like to start by saying that I went to St. Cloud Tech, and while I was going to Tech, I had heard that there was an opening for washing windows at a jewelry store downtown. And one of my friends said, well, why don't you go and apply? Which I did, and 3 weeks later, they called me and said, yes, we've checked you out and you can start washing windows. So that's where I started with the jewelry store business. And then shortly after this, after I graduated, I went into service, I think in July, and I was gone overseas within 3 months. I spent 2 years in the South Pacific, and then coming back, I went right back into Strobel's Jewelry, and that's where I started to learn the business. Mr. Strobel, starting this, Mr. Strobel handed me a clock one day and said, well, I want you to take this apart and put it back together. I said, well, you've got to be kidding. But he wasn't. So I did. I took it apart and I put it back together, and I got it all back together and running, but I still had one little washer left over. But it ran without that, and I found out later that it was a washer that probably should be in there, but not real necessary to make the clock run. But that's how I started the jewelry business. Pat's uncle, by the way, was a partner in this business also. And he hired Pat to come in after school and work at Strobel's. And I knew who she was, but I was really kind of afraid of her because I didn't know her that well, and she was really some gal.
Well, I went to Cathedral High School, and when I was a senior, I got a job at Strobel's Jewelry. And I worked after school every day, and then I worked there a couple of years. I worked there when I was on St. Ben's too. And they were very good about kind of accommodating me for my hours. I came to work one day, and here was this good-looking guy that had just come back from the service. Well, this good-looking guy brought me home from the store party a week later, and since then I've not let loose from this good-looking guy. That was it.
That would really be an opportunity for us to start a jewelry store. And Pat said, well, let's call that guy right away. We'll have him come over. We'll wine and dine him, and we'll serve him a meal and everything else. So we did. And he accepted, and he came, and I said, has that place been leased yet? But he said, well, why are you interested? And I said, well, because I want to start a store out there. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. And all of a sudden, about 3 weeks later, I think it was one evening, I got a phone call, and he said, can you be at the bank tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock? I'll be there. So this is what happened. That's how we got our own store.
I think I was mostly the ears. And he would come home and he would tell me whatever it was that was bothering him or whatever he was thinking. And I think more than anything, weren't my suggestion as much as trying to feel out what he felt and then encourage him in whatever his decision was.
Well, but here's the one that helped me make it. If you hadn't insisted on that night of getting this lease agent over, we probably wouldn't be there. So I believe it was in December. December 31st was my last day at Strobel's. In 1965 and 1966, we opened our store on March 9th. And from that day on, things really were great. And, you know, with the opening day out there, people were really, I guess, quite happy that we were moving. We got bouquets and flowers, and we had them setting all over the store. And a couple of people came in and thought we were a floral shop, which didn't say much for our diamonds, but but I don't think we sold any of them, so I know we didn't. It was really an experience. It was fun.
Yes, I would like to tell you about my mother and father. My father was so proud of Don, and they would go out shopping in Crossroads, and they would sit on a bench right in front of the store and just look at the store. They were so proud of him.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
That is great.
Well, you know, selling is, I think it's in my blood. I love a challenge. You know, if someone comes in, I want to help them, and usually it's a very happy time.
I think definitely that, I think Don has always put people first. And I think that is the most important thing of all, his obligation to the community. But definitely that the people that he works with and the people that he deals with, that is the most important thing of all.
I love the employees, and without them, we wouldn't be successful, and I know that. And they, you know, every one of them has their own niche, and there aren't any two that are really the same kind of salesperson. So, which is so neat, because you have to work on this one for this, you got to talk to somebody about this for this, and so on and so forth. But that's what makes it a family.
Wonderful life. But when I think about the store, I just think about the joy when I walk into that store. Everyone is so happy and joyful, and it's just such a pleasant place to walk into.
I just think that when I go home at night and I have my family and I have Pat there, that's my world.
Thank you.
You got the cameraman. Yeah.